Hello everyone, and welcome back to Some Room to Grow. So as promised, I'm going to give a tour of the main garden back there, and I'll kind of walk you through the food forest since we're out here. And I want to show you exactly all the things that we have growing, the things that are doing really well, and as I often like to do, I'll show you the things that are not working so well. You can include my hair in that list. Might need a little trim. It's coming around the ears there, but anyway. In doing all of that, maybe that can give you some tips. You can see, maybe what not to do, stuff to watch out for. So anyway, let's do it. So we finally got a lot of the weedy growth cleaned up out here in the food forest. It was mostly the wild violets that were coming up. Those are the most difficult. I'm probably going to have to do a video specifically about different tips for controlling those and how to try to get rid of them, but also how to use them. So you can actually see some of the things that are growing now. The comfrey is doing fantastically well. I'm really happy to have this to use for some green mulch. I'm having a hard time resisting pulling those leaves off to start spreading around, but I want it to get a little bit bigger. Something keeps nibbling on the Egyptian walking onions, which I'm surprised because I thought a lot of the wildlife didn't like the allium plants. But the comfrey, when I ordered it, there were 3 plant crowns, like the crown at the top of the root, and those have all done really well right away. And I had a lot of other root cuttings that came with that, and I spread those around everywhere, and they've taken longer, but they're starting to come up now, so that's looking really good. We've got plenty of comfrey going around. The wildflowers are all getting themselves started in here. Echinacea and some black-eyed Susans, butterfly weed, prairie blazing star, and then we've got some other herbs in here. And the garlic we planted last fall is looking excellent. It's just 2 hardneck on the end, and the rest are soft neck. And let's see, I know the hardneck that we have planted, it's the same kind that we have in the garden, and those are actually starting to get the scapes on them now, so I'll have a video about that too. This bed has been a bit tricky to get things going. We had a whole bunch of sunflowers planted out here that we grew inside, and we transplanted them, and they very quickly were destroyed either by squirrels and birds or the weather. And so I thought maybe we'll just try planting some sunflower seeds to get those growing. Sorry for the sound of the AC there. But that was a silly idea because that's basically just leaving snacks out for everything. They came and found them right away. I'm sure those seeds were probably gone before we even got in the house after planting them. They love sunflower seeds, so I recommend definitely either buying sunflower plants that are already pretty good size, well established, or if you're growing them inside, let them get pretty big before bringing them out. Don't just plant the seeds. The local wildlife will find those easily. But we had other things we were trying to do, some zinnia, and I was trying to get some catnip going and some other things, and it just hasn't really done much. So we finally transplanted a lot of our other stuff, more black-eyed Susans and some blazing star, and then we've got some petunias and some salvia over here. So eventually that will look a bit better. So then heading into the main garden, the biggest issue I would say so far in here is that we haven't had a good way to protect all of the things that are starting in the beds. So I need to make something for next year, some kind of wood frame with some chicken wire or something to give them a little bit of space to grow. Especially the earliest transplants will be a bit taller, and then once we get the beans and peppers and smaller things out here, they'll be shorter, and we want to give these other things some space to keep growing, and that should protect everything mostly from the birds. And the birds aren't going after the plants necessarily, it's just the fact that this garden soil has so many wonderful little snacks. If it's a good healthy soil, there's lots of things for the birds to eat And so they're always coming in here looking for different things, and just by accident they wind up chopping off the various little seedlings. So we've already lost a lot of beans and some arugula, collard greens, and some other things just because the birds are pecking around in here. So that's something that I'll need to set up for next year and hopefully keep things going a bit longer, you know, get them a bit bigger so the birds don't even really have anywhere to go around in there, and get a lot more out of our harvest. So let's take a closer look at what is actually growing here now. So one of the earliest things was the peas that we planted, and they are finally now getting close to harvest, and there are some gaps. And that's all because we had to keep planting more seeds because, again, the birds were just chopping them off at the base. So we just kind of kept filling the holes, and they're finally getting close now to giving us some peas. And so that should just be a few more weeks for those, and that will make way for all the other things. So we've got here the tomatoes, and there's another one down there, and we've got pole beans. Sorry again for the AC. And we've got cucumbers on the end, and so those should all be able to just make their way up the trellis, have plenty of space here. And the tomatoes are looking great. There's a couple different kinds here, and then we have more over in this bed, and then there's one down in the end. That's the tallest one. But these are all planted very similarly with some pole beans, some more cucumbers down there, and the peas that we're all starting out. And then there's a melon. It is a vine peach, so like a golden melon. That was like a free seed when we ordered our peach trees. So yeah, we'll see how those all do. And then we've got a couple different kinds of lettuce down here. This is some green Simpson lettuce. There's some red salad bowl on the other side. And then these are red potatoes that were store-bought and just sprouted them inside. Those are looking great. The Swiss chard has recovered from almost freezing to death and very cold temperatures. Almost got snowed on a couple of times. They're doing much better, close to harvest. Added some borage in here to attract more pollinators once that starts flowering. We have a couple kale we've already been harvesting from. And we have a few peppers in here. There's some edamame, I believe. And these onions are looking great in this bed. They are pretty big in comparison to the other ones, which were started at the same time. Same kind of onions and everything. Helicopter going overhead. I apologize. So those are significantly smaller, you can tell, and I imagine it's just because they have such a smaller space to grow in, so maybe not the best idea to plant those there, but I'll see how those do in the end. And the arugula really is a much better cold weather crop, and this is the second time we've grown it, and it really bolts immediately as soon as the weather starts warming up, even just a little bit. It's just like, I'm out of here, I'm done. You can harvest what you get from me, which isn't really much. We just started using it on pizzas and stuff. It's really good for that, but it doesn't last long, and it's a brassica, so it's definitely much better for cold weather. So we're just gonna have to try doing it then. And then there's a dill that keeps falling over. So we have some more beans over here, and then I planted some match, which has had a much tougher time also getting started, but there are a couple little ones that are just starting out. We have some in another bed that are doing a lot better. The chives are looking amazing as always at this time of year. The garlic chives bloom later in the summer, sometime, I think usually July, they kind of start to bloom a bit. And the garlic bed here, these are all, they're mostly hardneck. There's a few softneck on the end, and I have just noticed that they are starting to produce their scapes here. So I will do a video about that here soon in the next few weeks when they are ready to harvest those. Maybe we can make something out of them, do a little recipe or something. But you can see the hardneck do have scapes, and the softneck are a little smaller here in the end, and they do not produce a scape. But yeah, excited for those. So then in this bed, this looks even more sparse because we had a lot more beans, edamame and black beans planted throughout here, and a lot of those got chopped off by the birds, unfortunately. And I also had some bok choy that I was trying to grow out here, and those got devoured immediately. So we've had to fill in just with some other peppers. We planted kale here, and for whatever reason, they are just not really doing anything. We do have carrots going. There's a potato that came up from last year, so I guess that's one that I missed. And some more red potatoes, another borage, and then there's some little spinach here in the end that are taking a bit longer to get going. We also have zucchini planted out here in this part of the garden. We don't usually grow much stuff out here, so I figured I could throw a few there and just let them spread out over the wood chips and see how that works. And I realized I had forgotten I actually planted it. I stuck a couple comfrey root cuttings in the ground here. I was hoping to set those up maybe to create a rhizome barrier and block a lot of the weedy growth around in this area. But yeah, I had a lot of those root cuttings. I kind of stuck them around everywhere, and I completely forgot about those, so might have to pull those out if they get in the way there. This evening primrose just came up on its own. I have no idea where that came from, but just decided to let that go. And then we have more Egyptian walking onions, and these are just, I don't know if I can get it to focus on that, it's too small there, but those are starting to bulb. They'll just drop a lot of those little bulbils and keep spreading around there, and that's why I wanted to get more of those going out in the food forest to set up some little onion areas. And we have our first raspberries coming in. This is something I am always so excited about, and I'm just happy to have some that are flowering and producing fruit this year. It seems, sorry if I can get it to focus there, it seems the ants are the primary pollinators on these. As soon as these flowers open up, we get tons of ants crawling around in there. But this has been a struggle. If you've seen some of my past videos, just trying to make sure that the rabbits don't chew these canes down all the way. At the end of the season, I had to put up this fence around here to protect them, because these are the summer bearing variety that grow a cane that doesn't produce in its first year, and then the second season, that following summer, then they will start producing fruit. So you can see these are all from the previous year's canes. You can see how it's darker, woodier cane because this was from the previous year, and then it branches off from that, produces lots of flowers and fruit. This one down here is a new one that just came up this year, so this is not producing any fruit this year. We'll have to make sure that one stays alive, gets nice and big, and it will produce for us next year. So yes, very exciting for these, since I have this fence up here in the middle for those to kind of attach to and weave through that. Pretty soon here, just to keep the birds away from getting to the berries, I'll probably just get some bird netting to drape kind of like a tent between the fences here to help protect those for a bit. And here we go, this mach is looking much better, also known as corn salad. I planted a lot more of these. I had about 16 of them. I don't know if that is something that does better if it overwinters in the soil. Maybe it's good to plant it in the fall and just let that start coming back, but I would like to let some of that just go to seed where it is and see how we can get that coming back. And I had some of it planted over there too, but still haven't gotten to try that. I'm very excited. But anyway, I hope some of this information was helpful to you in some way. And I guess that's it for the tour for now. And I will do a few videos, as I said, based off of some of the things I was talking about and some little tips and stuff. But thank you very much for watching, and stay safe out there, take care of each other, and I'll see you next time.